You are the product if you're not paying for it. You're in the process of being coded. What an exciting day you're having, Fortune Fastlaner. Today's video will cover a fascinating subject that we're sure will pique your interest. How does WhatsApp make money? What began as a straightforward business query led us down a rabbit hole much worse than we thought, affecting each and every one of us. But in order to make sense of it all, we need to journey back in time. It's 2009. The iPhone was released a few years ago, and the world is still getting used to the concept of smartphone apps. Facebook is gaining traction, and a man named Brian Acton applies for a position there. He gets rejected, but he states that he is looking forward to the next adventure in life, which would come just a few months later, when Brian and his friend Yan Koom came up with their own smartphone app idea, WhatsApp. It was first developed as a tool for users to update their status, but once they added private messaging, the program exploded in popularity, owing to the fact that standard texting was still rather expensive at the time, whereas WhatsApp offered fully free global instant messaging. Now, most free programs can earn money in one of three ways: advertising, in-app purchases, or by selling your data. But the WhatsApp founders despised ads and left their prior jobs at Yahoo over conflicts over the company's widespread use of advertising. They even wrote a post on the official WhatsApp site about how much they despise advertisements, so that wasn't an option. But they also didn't want to start charging users for app capabilities. They began this endeavor simply because they desired to create a quality product that people desired to utilize. Attempting to improve the product was absolutely the priority. Option 3 was also a non-starter. Both WhatsApp founders are privacy campaigners, and for a time, they operated without revenue, relying solely on the first startup money. They've been provided by some affluent friends at Yahoo in order to keep expenditures to a minimal. To save money, the WhatsApp crew used inexpensive IKEA tables and army blankets as workstations. If you envision the conventional Silicon Valley startup seeking to expand rapidly and earn millions, WhatsApp was the polar opposite. The money we had allowed us to recruit and be quite conservative and frugal. Inevitably, as more users downloaded the program and further capabilities, like as image messaging, were added, WhatsApp required cash to invest in servers and expand its crew, so it implemented a $1 fee. In some countries, you had to pay this upfront to get the app. However, in others, you received the software for free for the first year and then had to pay $1 every year to keep it. What's interesting is that the $1 fee was rarely enforced. If someone did not pay the $1 renewal cost at the end of each year, WhatsApp would typically just let them retain the app for free, almost as if the money was a voluntary donation. As bizarre as that may sound, it worked reasonably well. This ensured they did not alienate their users and that enough individuals paid the $1 price to keep WhatsApp working properly for an extended period of time. After all, $1 a year for such a convenient app was well worth it to many users, if it meant they didn't have to do any of this. Of course, the $1 charge did help WhatsApp generate some much-needed income. It was mostly to fund their expenses. Even with such a modest price, they were still not very profitable. But curiously, that didn't matter. Tech firms operate in an unusual domain where they can be worth enormous quantities of money even if they're not profitable and have no obvious path to profitability. If you have a large user base, investors see the possibility in coming to us and saying, "You guys are doing terrific. We're interested in collaborating with you. We wish to make a financial contribution to you." We don't actually require it, which encourages them to invest further. Now, the reason WhatsApp's founders were initially hesitant to take on new investors was because they feared the investors would prioritize revenue at the expense of the app's quality. However, WhatsApp quickly grew to the point where investment firms such as Sequoia Capital began offering millions of dollars and agreeing to whatever terms WhatsApp desired, which meant the investors would not interfere with the app or force it to implement ads. And WhatsApp would receive a significant cash injection, which is where the revenue strategy comes into play. WhatsApp's deployment as a wall attracts investment. Essentially, they argued, rather than attempting to extract additional revenue from our customers, let's invest in making our app the best it can be, which will attract more users, who will then attract other investors, and so on. That was their intention, and it worked out beautifully for everyone. As you may know, WhatsApp is a network effect application. That is, the more people who have the app, the better it is for all users, as it allows them to message a greater number of people. Thus, by refraining from monetizing it and inundating it with advertisements or a plethora of paid features. WhatsApp's growth rate might be further accelerated if users spread the word about the app to their friends and family, resulting in a continuous increase in user accounts. As a result, they continued to attract additional investors, who contributed further funds to help WhatsApp improve the user experience even further. Of course, there is one significant disadvantage to this strategy. You can't rely on investors indefinitely. They'll eventually want to see that the business has a viable business model, unless of course you simply sell the app for new massive rewards. Facebook has acquired WhatsApp for $19 billion in cash and stock. Previously, many individuals were perplexed by this sale, with many perplexed by the $19 million price paid. Seriously, is it worth it? Indeed, this data indicates that WhatsApp made just $1.2 million in revenue in the 9 months preceding Facebook's acquisition, implying that it was operating at a loss. Therefore, why would Facebook pay $19 billion for it? To put this in context, they paid $1 billion for Instagram. By comparison, that kind of money can fund around 20 Mars trips. Why did Facebook acquire a messaging service with extremely comparable functionality to their own that had relatively low sales and was almost certainly losing money every year? Facebook's next move will be to transform WhatsApp into a legitimate business. The messaging service is now losing money, but Mark Zuckerberg has plans to reverse that, and what we can accomplish together has strategic worth. We truly believe that it's worth more than $19 billion on its own. That is, it's difficult to make that case today because their revenue is so small in comparison to that figure. But the reality is that there are very few services that reach 1 billion people worldwide. They are all quite valuable, much more so. Now, many people were alarmed to hear Zuckerberg speak about the synergy between Facebook and WhatsApp. After all, Facebook's entire business model is based on data collection. They are utilizing this to smear you with an infinite number of tailored advertisements at all times. Almost everything WhatsApp was designed to oppose. Additionally, Facebook has a poor track record when it comes to privacy, as evidenced by the Cambridge Analytica controversy, in which millions of Facebook users' data was improperly accessed and exploited against them. Not only that, but also in a leaked private message from Facebook's infancy. According to reports, Zuckerberg told a friend that if they ever needed information about anyone at Harvard, they should just ask, because he has over 4,000 emails, photographs, and addresses. When a buddy inquired as to how Zuckerberg stated, the response was simply submitted. Since then, Facebook has been embroiled in a slew of other privacy, security, and data controversies, all of which have ended the same way. In retrospect, it appears as though we made a mistake there. In fact, we have made numerous errors while running the company. Following that, normal operations resumed. Zuckerberg, on the other hand, assured the WhatsApp founders that they would be free to operate independently of Facebook and would face no pressure to profit. Thus, what is the possibility of a mishap? In a 2016 blog post, WhatsApp declared that they would discontinue charging subscription fees, effectively eliminating the $1 price that was never fully enforced in the first place. On the surface, this seems fantastic. Perhaps Facebook truly cares about connecting the globe and is content to incur a massive loss on WhatsApp and not monetize it at all. However, if we leave dreamland and return to reality, the truth about why Facebook purchased WhatsApp and how they intend to monetize it becomes quite evident. To begin, Facebook purchased people and their personal information. As one source notes, Facebook is in the spying industry, possibly the largest in human history. The more data Facebook has on its users, the more powerful it becomes. And WhatsApp gave behavioral data, contact lists, and an infinite amount of more personal information. According to others, WhatsApp was Facebook's missing connection, as access to phone numbers now connects Facebook users as real and online worlds. Additionally, even though WhatsApp has surpassed 1 billion users, it still has a lot of room to develop. Indeed, it is the market leader in emerging economies where Facebook's own messaging service is less popular. That is likely why Facebook eliminated the $1 fee for WhatsApp users. Bringing new users into the Facebook ecosystem is far more profitable than charging $1 per user. Your data is worth much more to them than $1 a year, because the more data points they have about you, the more they can combine it with data from other sources to create an even clearer profile of who you are, making it much easier to sell you things. By eliminating the fees, they are able to do just that. However, another rationale for Facebook's acquisition of WhatsApp was to effectively eliminate competition. After learning that the WhatsApp founders had been invited to Google's Mountain View headquarters for discussions, Zuckerberg hastened to make them an offer they couldn't reject in order to prevent them from selling to a competitor. Facebook has a history of doing this to maintain control of the audience's attention. Facebook is a case study in monopoly power, in our opinion, because your firm harvests and monetizes our data and then utilizes that data to spy on competitors, acquire and murder competitors. You've exploited Facebook's might to intimidate smaller competitors and to guarantee that you always receive your money's worth. These techniques cement Facebook's supremacy, which you then employ in increasingly damaging ways. As a result, Facebook's business model precludes the growth of new enterprises, and this has a detrimental effect on our democratic process. Thus, while WhatsApp's revenue data is not publicly available, it becomes clear that the company is now losing money. Indeed, it may never have done so, but now that it's owned by Facebook, they are not in a hurry to monetize directly. What matters to them is owning the users and data, as one insider noted, because that means Facebook's tentacles are closer to reaching billions of people. In a market of that magnitude, Facebook will undoubtedly find a way to profit. But hold on a minute, you may be wondering, are you not getting carried away here? Zuckerberg stated explicitly that WhatsApp would remain autonomous and would not share data with Facebook. As a result, you have nothing to fear, right? Brian Acton, the founder of WhatsApp, resigned in 2017 following a disagreement with Zuckerberg over the commercialization of the service and plans to share user data with Facebook. By departing at the time he did, he forfeited an estimated $850 million in uninvested stock options. But he simply couldn't stay for another second. Brian became significantly more public about his Facebook worries less than a year later. He also tweeted, "It's time to eliminate faces," but then invested $50 million of his own money in Signal, a competitor messaging app that includes many of the same capabilities as WhatsApp. This was a charitable organization that placed a premium on confidentiality and anonymity. Essentially, he desired to restore WhatsApp in its original, idealized state. And if you zoom back for a bit, you'll understand what a bizarre story arc that was for Brian Acton. To begin, he attempts and is rejected from a position at Facebook, prompting him to create his own program, WhatsApp. Years later, Facebook acquires it for $19 billion and invites him to join the company as an employee. He then has a public spat with Facebook and decides to resign. Finally, he takes a portion of the proceeds from the WhatsApp sale to launch a brand new competitor app to Facebook and WhatsApp. They stated that their goal is to create a fun product that safeguards users' privacy. Now, how did it get to the point that Brian was willing to forego an additional $850 million in order to escape Facebook's actions? Things began to become more difficult. The European Commission penalized Facebook 110 million euros in May 2017 for deceiving it during the acquisition of WhatsApp. The total monetary penalty of 110 million euros levied on Facebook is the most we have ever imposed for procedural violations in a homicide case. According to reports, Facebook incorrectly stated that combining user data from Facebook and WhatsApp was technically impossible. However, it was eventually revealed that this was not only conceivable, but that WhatsApp had been exchanging user data with Facebook for years. This included the exchange of WhatsApp phone number data in order for Facebook adverts to be targeted. Bryant stated that he then discovered that Facebook intended to link people's WhatsApp numbers to their Facebook or Messenger accounts from the start in order to acquire additional data about them and serve them more targeted advertisements. Yan Kroom, the second WhatsApp founder, also resigned shortly afterwards, after it became evident that Facebook executives intended to weaken WhatsApp's encryption in order to facilitate monetization. But perhaps most concerning of all, some feel WhatsApp's encryption is already less secure than it is made up to be. According to all of these articles, Facebook is considering integrating an on-device AI system into WhatsApp to scan and censor material throughout the platform if this is enabled, which we believe is already the case. The software would scan messages automatically prior to encryption and sending, implying that the app is encrypted and secure, and do not assume that WhatsApp is secure. When they hear the term encryption, they automatically assume it's secure. This is an incredible deception scheme that has been employed in recent years. Brian Acton continued, "We traded our users' privacy. It was a decision and a compromise that we live with every day." He is far from the first former Facebook employee to speak out against the company's current practices. As former growth chief Chamath put it, "We've created tools that are tearing the social fabric of how civilization functions apart." In retrospect, it was inevitable that Facebook's acquisition of WhatsApp would spark a conflict. Facebook is one of the largest advertising networks in the world, and the founders of WhatsApp despised advertisements. Given that Facebook's business is built on how much information it has about its users, and the WhatsApp founders were pro-privacy activists, one could argue that the WhatsApp founders must have known that selling to Facebook would result in only one outcome. However, put yourself in their shoes. You're being offered $19 billion for an app that isn't even profitable, and you rarely turn it down. Reverting to the original question once more, WhatsApp generates revenue in several ways. We now know that they did this with the $1 fee in the early days. Then their business plan shifted to raising capital from investors and eventually receiving a large payoff from Facebook. But how are they making money now that Facebook owns the app? Is it solely as a result of Facebook gathering and sharing our data with its connected businesses and then making a profit off of us? No, actually. Another new revenue stream for WhatsApp is through WhatsApp Business, a tool that enables businesses to communicate with and support their consumers. Numerous large technology businesses, including Netflix and Uber, have begun testing the service. WhatsApp earns money when businesses fail to respond to clients within 24 hours, effectively charging businesses for late responses. Doesn't this seem promising? We are prepared to gamble that you've never used this device and hence believe it's realistic to predict that this alone will not make WhatsApp viable in the near future. Regrettably, now that the $1 price has been eliminated, all of the things WhatsApp attempted to avoid initially now appear far more possible. WhatsApp's representative acknowledged the company's intention to continue monetizing the service. By introducing ads in the status section, someone should probably tell them to remove the "why we don't sell ads" post from the WhatsApp blog first. But the truth is that while we may see more monetization directly within WhatsApp, the primary value of WhatsApp to Facebook will always be the data and deeper integration between WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. Concerns about this resulted in a flood of unfavorable headlines for WhatsApp in early 2021, primarily as a result of Apple's new disclosure regulations. WhatsApp was required to notify users about the data points that may be shared with businesses and third-party service providers. This included your phone number, profile, images, name, status, login activity, contact list purchases, financial information, information about your phone, mobile carrier, IP address, and location, among other things. Initially, WhatsApp required users to approve this by February 8, or they would be unable to use the service for the remainder of their lives. What's potentially worse is that this update did not even include a revision to their privacy statement. According to reports, it was only an explanation of what WhatsApp had been doing for years, but had to publicly reveal due to new restrictions, which may leave you wondering if there are truly all these privacy problems and why people continue to trust WhatsApp. The answer was straightforward when this question was posed on Reddit. They don't. But the majority of individuals are oblivious to privacy concerns. Of course, those who violate our privacy do, which is why, when questioned if they trust WhatsApp, the most frequent response is no way. We have little confidence in them. One popular post contained even fewer specific reasons to avoid WhatsApp, which were once again primarily related to data sharing with Facebook. However, the network effect is at work here as well. It's difficult for other applications to compete entirely because even if you were to switch to something like Signal, there's little value until your friends and family also use it. As one person put it, by the time WhatsApp was acquired by Facebook, almost everyone in my group was using it for everything, including work-related communication. It's become so ingrained in people's lives that he's forced to choose between maintaining your privacy and being connected to those around you. And yet, despite all of this, it's now time for a very significant story twist. As we near the conclusion of the WhatsApp saga, it's tempting to view this film as an attack on WhatsApp and Facebook, but that is in fact not the case. The reality is that this type of data collection is not the result of some sort of conspiracy. This is a pretty common approach employed by a large number of businesses. While Facebook is maybe the most well-known example, it's hypocritical for me to preach about privacy when this video was funded by advertisements. And honestly, we don't believe companies collecting data to show you more targeted ads is inherently bad if they're transparent about it. Because without companies like Google, free YouTube content like this would likely not exist. Without the efforts of firms such as Facebook, free access to social media platforms would almost certainly not be possible. The reality is that WhatsApp is an excellent service that is genuinely helping to connect the worlds. This video has a dark tone, and if you are truly concerned about privacy, complete transparency, and Facebook's ever-growing power, then this video tone is appropriate. However, many people may view this video as overdramatic because most businesses and apps collect, share, and frequently sell your data. Your local store loyalty card tracks what you purchase, and your credit card tracks what you spend. By comparison, the data collected by WhatsApp may not be quite as terrible. What's truly fascinating about this is that the majority of us chose to share this much information about ourselves to obtain something for nothing. We must be extremely cautious about what we are giving up when we agree to provide anyone with the technical capability to track what we do online. Combine this with any further data sources they may have on you. To be clear, as far as we are aware, the reason we were unable to view your actual messages was due to security concerns. Officially, there is no evidence that your communications can be scanned or are now being examined. Given this, should you delete WhatsApp? To be sure, quite a few users have shifted to alternative messaging apps, but caution is warranted here. Telegram, for example, has witnessed a significant increase in new users while offering arguably less security than WhatsApp, due to the fact that messages are not encrypted end-to-end by default. As WhatsApp is, the two applications recently got into a social media spat after neither came out looking good. Therefore, if you're truly concerned about security and privacy and about Facebook collecting all of this information about you, Brian Acton's new app Signal appears to be one of the best alternatives available. Owing to its non-profit status and backing by a now billionaire, they're unlikely to face the same monetization pressures. It's present in the majority of commercial chat apps. Edward Snowden himself uses it, and Elon Musk endorses it. Notably, Signal is also open source. In contrast to many other chat apps, service, the operation of which is unknown. We're not here to annihilate WhatsApp in the near future. We're here to educate people about their opinions and to encourage them to seek them out of their privacy is a concern. However, if you're already a Facebook, Instagram, or Messenger user and are familiar with how Facebook works, continuing to use WhatsApp makes more sense, especially if all of your friends and family are WhatsApp users. It's simply more convenient, and that's a trade-off that many people are willing to make. If all that data is used for is to provide you with more targeted advertisements, that may not be such a bad thing. While it is ultimately your choice, we believe that being slightly more aware of the data you share and how it's used across all apps and websites is critical, especially as more and more aspects of our lives become connected through technology. Because while there is nothing intrinsically wrong with that, we will end this video with the same message as we begin. If you are not paying for the product, you already possess the item. Now for the happy news, this channel contains a large number of similar videos and documentaries that you may watch for free. To begin the next episode, simply the next one. We have a feeling you're going to enjoy this one quite a bit, Fortune Fastlaner. I'll see you there. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Adios.